Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. News update from Moscow. Today is 4th of July. Now it's 11 o'clock in the morning, Moscow time, and I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and hopefully you will find this episode informative and useful. Before I start news segment, I will just remind you that after news, I will be engaged with the chat, short community chat, let's say. And also, dear friends, let me remind you that this Sunday I will make first fundraising stream, as I spoke about it yesterday. And well, I hope it will work out. I hope it will work out because yet again, this project exists only as long as I have community support to stay focused full time on this work. That's being said, dear friends, let's start the stream, the news segment itself. As I said, a lot of news, and in case, dear friends, you have not seen yesterday's second news update that I published on YouTube and Rumble, please check that video. It's a walk and talk video. I went, in the city here in Moscow yesterday. I was making extra content for Patreon and Boosty community, and I published on YouTube and Rumble a short part of it. Overall video is over 15 minutes, and I just published some news segment, and I'm not going to repeat all of the news from that update. So if you have time, check that video. It's a walk and talk, so you will receive information, and same time you can see some areas of Moscow. It's wonderful, by the way. You're gonna love it. So okay, that's being said, let's start this stream. And first of all, this report from RIA Novosti that air defense systems on duty intercepted 48 Ukrainian drones overnight. But unfortunately, not all drones were intercepted, not 100% of it. And we have a report this morning that drones attacked Sergey Posad, urban district of the Moscow region. Wonderful city, by the way, Sergey Posad is for our Patreon and Boosty communities. I did made a video from Sergey Posad, from monastery complex, unique monastery complex, by the way, there. And the Western-backed terrorist regime targeted this city. So we have this report on that drones attacked the Sergey Posad urban district of the Moscow region, and the initial report was that one civilian was injured as a result of this attack, but little late this morning, this information was updated, and now we have information that at least 2 civilians were injured as a result of this attack. I can show you some videos of that. Attack. Let me just find it for you. So this is one footage.
Обалдеть, вот летит. Вылетит.
You can see the drone is flying over town and then targeting one area, and also we have a video on that.
Тихо.
And obviously, these attacks are done by NATO, by the way. Formally, it's Kiev regime, but in reality, flight path targeting data for these drones and drones themselves are provided by NATO. So this is NATO attacks, NATO-Ukraine combined attacks, and well, they're going to pay a heavy price for these crimes that they are committing against Russia. Time will come for that, for sure. As I said, at least 2 civilians were injured as a result of these attacks. Later on today, maybe we will receive some update, and of course, I will share additional information on my Telegram and Twitter page. When it comes to intercepted drones, as I already mentioned, 48 drones were intercepted by air defense systems. 26 drones were shot down over the territory of Rostov region. And unfortunately, some drones did manage to bypass air defense in Rostov direction also. And this morning I saw videos from one of the villages where a residential area was targeted, and residential apartments and vehicles were damaged and destroyed as a result of this. Yet another war crime that was committed by Kiev regime. 12 drones were intercepted over the Kursk region, 6 drones over the Belgorod region, 3 drones over Oryol region, and 1 drone over the Lipetsk region. As I said many times before, dear friends, even best air defense systems on this planet that Russia has and produces, not always capable to take down 100% of the aerial targets. Even tiny Israel, by the way, with their tremendous investments in air defense systems, are unable to basically keep 100% of success rate. It's just technically not possible. So therefore, time to time, some drones are managing to bypass air defenses, which is unfortunate, but that's the reality of the life. RIA Novosti is also reporting that overnight Russian armed forces also launched long-range precise strike on military and logistical infrastructure of the Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. We have this report on that from RIA Novosti that Russian military struck air defense systems and the warehouses in the Kiev region. Nikolaev underground coordinator Sergey Lebedev told the RIA Novosti, and it was not just Kiev and the Kiev region. Other areas were also were military and logistical infrastructure targeted. And in brief, I can give you information that there was a strikes in the Kiev, as I said, in the Kiev region, a series of explosions in Juliani airport area, by the way. In Kiev, also there was arrivals, let's say, in Pavlograd, Dnipropetrovsk region, Chernigov region, and the Sumy region. Also in Kharkov, there was explosions. I can show you some videos on that. And well, these strikes, by the way, were quite effective because smoke from these explosions, these fires that began on the point of Russian strikes, were so powerful that Kiev is still experiencing some smoke, right? Let me show you some footage. Also, let me give you this video. That's the smoke that I'm talking about. Video is made there this morning. And on internet, many photos are published about the consequences of Russian strikes. And for example, probably some of you or some members of our community have seen this picture. For example, you can see areas that were targeted. There are most likely Russian armed forces quite successfully neutralized Kiev regime's munition depots, air defense systems, potentially Patriot battery, and I guess fuel depots were also neutralized. So successful operation on part of Russian militaries. And this morning, dear friends, reports were coming in about also strikes in Kramatorsk. And I can give you this video from Kramatorsk.
Неплохо.
A short clip that depicts, aftermath of their explosion. Looks like it was a missile strike, not a drone strike, but possibly Iskander M strike on one of their military facilities of Kiev regime in Kramatorsk city, which is temporarily occupied by Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, but not for long. Let's continue with some other news now, and we have this report from Vzгляд newspaper that Kiev regime used a suicide bomber to conduct targeted assassination of a former mayor of Lugansk. So report is that the explosion that killed former Lugansk leader Manolis Pilavov was carried out by the woman. A source in their operational services reported, according to preliminary data, Pilavov was killed by the female suicide bomber. So, as you can see, dear friends, Kiev regime is adopting all the terrorist means that terrorist organizations are using worldwide. Suicide bombings, car bombings, and so on. Right? And when I say this is a terrorist regime, I mean hardly anybody who has at least some information, some knowledge about that regime has any doubts on that I am correct. It's a terrorist regime, by the way. And unfortunately, there is a high risk that more and more terrorist attacks will take place from Kiev regime and its NATO backers, first of all, UK, by the way, because terrorism is a trademark of British secret services, US secret services, of course, and the British secret services that have much longer history of terror in this world than US secret services, because US only exists just a little over 2 centuries, right? And UK was, or British Empire was terrorizing people worldwide for many centuries, right? Also, let me give you this report, dear friends, that Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, once again is making quite strong statements in regards to this terrorist regime in Kiev. We have this report that I shared also on my Telegram and Twitter X page, that Ukraine has launched their intelligence activities in Hungary to influence the parliamentary elections of 2026. Prime Minister Orban stated, according to him, the goal of this move is to bring a pro-Ukrainian government to power that will approve Kiev's accession to EU and probably will support the idea of Kiev regime joining NATO. And Orban went a bit soft on Kiev regime, even though being critical, because Hungary is definitely one of the primary targets of Ukrainian terrorists, right? And Orban and all the other politicians, public figures in Hungary that are not obeying orders of the globalists and are not assisting this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, they all are targets. They all have targets on their back. And I'm afraid Hungary and Slovakia will, and a number of other European countries, by the way, will experience Ukrainian terrorism big time. It's just seems absolutely inevitable. So they should be very careful. They should be very careful, and security services of Hungary, Slovakia, and a number of other European countries should pay significant time and attention to all the threats that Zelensky's regime is generating. This is not a joke. I mean, they all are target for Ukrainian Nazis and the terrorists. And when it comes to attacks on Hungary, by the way, it's not just a Kiev regime, but obviously globalists want to shut down voices from Budapest. And for example, according to Politico, Denmark pushes, which is absolutely controlled, 100% controlled by globalists, by the way, right? So Denmark pushes to suspend Hungary's EU voting rights. And most likely, in upcoming several months, Brussels will go ahead to suspend voting rights of Hungary and maybe even Slovakia. This is clearly possibility because they may love to talk about democracy and pluralism, freedom of speech, and so on, but in reality, they don't believe in any of it, right? And they hate when someone has different opinion or different reading of their big picture, like leadership of Hungary and Slovakia does right now, isn't it? And they are constantly attacking these countries and political leadership of these countries. In case of Prime Minister of Slovakia, I mean, Roberto Fico was almost killed, by the way, barely survived assassination, right? And there was several attempts. And Viktor Orban also survived assassination attempts, according to reports that I see here. There was attempts on his life too. So Brussels and the globalists, by the way, globalist-controlled regimes, they are trying to shut the voice of these two countries. That's what globalists are, man. That's what globalists do, right? And dear friends, before I continue with some more news, and there is a lot to unpack, let me just remind you that, as I've said in the beginning, this project only exists as long as it has your support, your assistance, and if you like my work, if you want to see possible further development of this project, please consider to support, to become a sponsor, to support this project and my work. You can do it through several means. You can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where I have extra content on regular basis. Also, you can donate to this project through PayPal or through Boosty platforms. Also, there is a crypto possibility to donate with crypto, and a few times I did receive some donations through crypto. What else? During the streams, dear friends, you can use Rumble platform for support, for donation. You can use super chat feature there, which called Rant, and also you can become a premium subscriber because my channel is monetized on Rumble. There is such opportunities there. So yes, I mean that's about it, I guess. All the links, all the addresses are on this video in description box, and after this live stream, I will pin the comment on YouTube with these links. And many thanks to everybody who supported, continues to support, and keeps me in this field of news and political commentary. And I'm truly grateful, dear friends. And I think many members of our community are also grateful for supporters because let's be real, when it comes to daily news update and commentary, there is my channel from Russia, by the way. There is my channel, and that's it. From independent media, right? There are different channels that are operating in this field, but with their rare updates, relatively. But when it comes to daily updates, quite often several updates a day, it's just my channels, isn't it? And hopefully I'm doing something good for the community, and while providing viewpoint from Russia, and pro-Russian view, let's say, and also news from Russia, news that Russian public and their community and media pays attention to. So many thanks to all their supporters. That's been said, let's continue, dear friends, with some more news. Lavrov, Foreign Minister of Russian Federation, Sergey Lavrov, congratulates Rubio, his counterpart in America, Marco Rubio, with July 4, U.S. Independence Day. And I will join these congratulations. I will congratulate people of America with this national celebration. And I wish them to be successful in attempt to reclaim their own country and decision making in their own destiny. I really hope these pro-American, America First forces in US will succeed and they will manage to reclaim their own country. That will be good for US citizens. That will be good for the rest of the world. I'm 100% convinced about it, because probably many of you will agree with me, dear friends, that US did become, especially after 50s and 60s, definitely become a sort of a tool in hands of globalists and their allies inside the US itself to achieve their geopolitical goals, right? And US was used for, and abused, by the way, for decades and decades and decades as a sort of enforcer of the globalists. While country was neglecting, or political leadership of the country was neglecting national interests of their country, which is based on fundamental interests of the people, right? That's how it's supposed to be. So, yes, congrats to US citizens, and I really hope they will manage to reclaim their country. When it comes to statements of Lavrov, by the way, we have few quotes from him. I look forward to our collaborative efforts, further enhancing bilateral relations in a constructive direction. I take this opportunity to wish the American people to follow the path of peace and prosperity, Lavrov said in his congratulating letter to his American colleague. And of course, dear friends, we have to talk about our phone conversation that happened yesterday between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump. In yesterday's second news update, I did share some information about it, but now we have a full report about statements of Yuri Ushakov, aide of Russian president, about this phone conversation. So let's go through this news, sir. It is interesting. And later I'll give you a reaction of the US president on this conversation. So Russian President Vladimir Putin and his US counterpart Donald Trump had held a lengthy phone conversation on Thursday. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov has stated the two leaders discussed ongoing Ukraine peace talks, their volatile state of affairs in the Middle East, and Russia-US cooperation. He stated below, and we have sort of full text of Ushakov's statement. So let's go through details here. Another almost hour-long phone conversation between President of Russia, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, and the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has just concluded, he said yesterday, right after this phone conversation ended. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump began the conversation by announcing that the US Congress passed his administration's flagship bill envisioning reforms in taxation, immigration, and their energy sector. President Trump himself calls it their one big beautiful bill. Vladimir Putin wished Donald Trump success in implementing the changes he envisions and naturally offered greetings for Independence Day, the national day of the United States, which will be celebrated today. At the same time, it was noted by our side, according to Ushakov, that Russia held had played a significant part in the establishment of the United States as a nation, including during the War of Independence fought 250 years ago and later during the Civil War, which ended 160 years ago. It was stated that our countries are bound not only by their alliance during the World War I and II, but also by deeper historical ties. And while this is true, by the way, I don't think, I really don't think Trump cares about history that much, or even knows that Russia was actually assisting founding fathers of US, let's say, to achieve success in their endeavor to create this country, right? And Russia was also assisting Washington during their civil war. Incidentally, Vladimir Putin mentioned that just before speaking with Donald Trump, he had a conversation with the representative of Russia's business community. One of the ideas suggested during that meeting was holding exchange of motion pictures promoting traditional values, which both we and the Trump administration hold dear. President Trump reacted immediately and said he liked this idea. There was a detailed discussion of the situation surrounding Iran and the state of affairs in the Middle East. In general, the Russian side emphasized it was crucial to settle any and all contentious issues, differences, and conflicts exclusively via political and diplomatic means. The two leaders agreed to maintain contact on the issue between their respective foreign services, defense ministers, and the presidential aides. The latest developments in Syria were addressed as well. Similarly, the Russian and the US sides intend to continue the dialogue on the matter. Naturally, there are issues surrounding Ukraine were also discussed. Donald Trump has once again raised the issue of ending the hostilities as soon as possible. He once again spoke, I guess, about the 30-day ceasefire that globalists are actively pushing, by the way, because Kiev regime, their proxy Kiev regime, is desperate and desperately needs some break, right? But I guess Russian president shut down that conversation immediately because Moscow was very clear, by the way, in many occasions that temporary solutions are not something that Russia is looking for, right? We need an end of the conflict for long terms or forever, hopefully, right? And that requires root causes to be addressed. Temporary measures will not resolve the issues, right? In turn, Vladimir Putin noted that we still continue the search for political negotiated solutions to the conflict. He informed his counterpart on the progress in implementing the humanitarian agreements reached during the second round of direct Russia-Ukraine talks held in Istanbul. He also noted that Russia was willing to pursue negotiations. Additionally, the president of Russia said that Russia would strive to achieve its goals, namely to eliminate of their well-known root causes that led to the current state of affairs, the bitter confrontation that we are seeing now. Russia will not back down from these goals. That's what President said, and that's what I predicted that he would say, right? So while exchanging views on bilateral matters, the two sides confirmed their mutual interest in implementing a number of promising projects in economy, notably their energy sector and the space exploration. Overall, I would like to point out that the conversation between the two presidents has, as always, shown that they are on the same page. It was candid, business-minded, and concrete. The two presidents will naturally continue communicating and will have another conversation soon. Ushakov stated in regards to these talks between the two presidents, very diplomatic, kind languaged statements from Ushakov while he was describing conversation between the two leaders. Obviously, many details cannot be said publicly, Understandably so, because presidents quite often, I guess, are having conversation about some classified stuff that will stay classified. But that's the Russian attitude, by the way, that, well, conversation was not bad, right? But, well, Trump was not happy, by the way. While the Russian side is characterizing these talks as something of positive, Trump seems like was not happy with this conversation. And he said it while talking to a journalist. I mean, we have this report from TASS News Agency, for example, that Trump says he is not satisfied with their situation around Ukraine. So following conversation with the Russian leader Vladimir Putin, US President Donald Trump said he was not satisfied with the situation around Ukraine and believed there was no progress. And I can give you some video of Trump's statements, by the way. He made several statements, by the way. I'll give you now this one, which is... let's listen to it.
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran. And we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. And I'm not happy about that.
Mr. President,
No, I didn't make any progress with it today.
Mr. President, how much growth can the country expect from the one
I think we're going to get...
So he is saying basically that there was no progress in regards to Ukraine topic. And he also went to say that US is still giving weapons to Kiev regime. As you know, dear friends, in recent days, there was many reports in Western media, in Russia also, that US suspended their weapon supply to Kiev regime. According to one report, this suspension is just a partial one. According to other reports, US completely stopped supplying Kiev regime with any weapons whatsoever. Difficult to say what is the real situation, but Trump went to say, by the way, that US continues to give weapons to Kiev regime. So I guess that is the answer, right? So what media outlets were reporting about then? I don't know. Maybe partial suspension of their weapon supplies is really in effect, and that's why Trump said that well, some weapons are going to Kiev, but others might not. But it's better to listen to him. I mean, let me give you another video of Trump.
We haven't. We're giving weapons, but we've given so many weapons. But we are giving weapons, and we're working with them and trying to help them. But we haven't. You know, Biden emptied out our whole country giving them weapons. And we have to make sure that we have enough for ourselves. Who are you with?
Mr. President.
So you see, he himself is saying that, well, US is actually giving weapons to Kiev regime. And it's anybody's guess now. He meant that, well, there is a partial suspension in place, but you know, some weapons still are transferred, or what he means, by the way. I mean, who knows, really, isn't it? But nevertheless, let me also give you this report that, additional video, by the way. I almost forget. Sorry for that, but let me give you this third video of Trump when he is actually expressing his opinion in a bit more length in regards to this conversation that he had with the Russian.
Are you speaking to Zelensky tomorrow? And what are you hoping
I'm speaking to President Zelensky tomorrow, early in the morning, and I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Putin, because I don't think he's there. And I'm very disappointed. Well, it's not, I'm just saying, I don't think he's looking to stop. And that's too bad. This is Biden. This isn't me. This is Biden's war. It wouldn't have happened if I were president. It wouldn't have happened. So, you know, I in one way I had to get too involved because it's Biden's war. And I got stuck in the middle of it, just like I did with immigration and a lot of other things that they screwed up. But I was not happy with the conversation, no.
So that's the reaction from Donald Trump, by the way, that he is not happy. Okay. It's not a Russian president's job, by the way, to keep Donald Trump happy, isn't it? Russian president is doing whatever is necessary to protect national interests of the Russian people, Russia, right? And me, for example, I'm quite happy that, Russian leader during this conversation clearly put Trump in his place. That's what happens, seems like, right? And, if Trump is not happy about it, then, there is a cold water in a tub, I guess, in White House. He can drink it and chill a little bit, right? So now questions might arise. What should we expect next? Further escalation, or US will just walk away from this crisis, from this proxy war that US was actually leading charge, right? And yet again, it is anybody's guess what White House is gonna do. If America First forces reclaim initiative in Washington, then in that case, US will probably go ahead with their de-escalation and eventually will distance itself from this proxy war that globalists are waging against Russia. But if globalists and their allies in US are in very strong positions and their initiative is in their hands, then in that case, we will see further escalation from the US. Time will tell. But at this point, due to lack of information, it is difficult to know for sure what to expect. And let's continue. Let's continue with some more news. Something is wrong with this program. Looks like, I don't know. And okay, picture is back. So let's continue with this report from Vzglyad newspaper that von der Leyen, Ursula Bursula washing machine, as I love to call her, stated that EU countries should take loans for weapons for Ukraine. I mean, it's crazy, by the way. Brussels is going absolutely nuts, right? And they are basically forcing countries now to not just spend taxpayers' money, but also to borrow on top of that to keep this war going, right? This proxy war that globalists are waging against us. So the cessation of arms supplies to Kiev regime by the United States is a reason for EU countries to more actively support Ukraine with weapons, said the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. The US, we have quotes from her, the US decision is a clear signal to EU countries about the need to increase European supplies. Von der Leyen stated, in her opinion, EU countries should take out military loans and conduct joint arms purchases under the control of the European Commission. Oh, she's a wannabe dictator type of personality, isn't it? Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen stressed that if the United States decides to stop supplies, it would be a serious setback for Ukraine, Europe, and NATO. So, obviously she is not alone, and she has many supporters in this idea of further prolonging the proxy war. And as I said many times before, by the way, they will sacrifice literally everybody literally everybody on Kiev's controlled territory, right? To prolong this proxy war as much as they can. And on the matter of Ukrainian crisis, quite interesting news is coming from China, by the way, from South China Morning Post media outlet. I saw this reporter on Telegram, and I did share on my channel and also on Twitter X. Let's go through these details. According to this South China Morning Post media outlet, China tells EU it cannot afford Russian loss in Ukraine war, sources say. I mean, first of all, Russia is winning and will win this proxy war that West is waging against Russia, against us. This is absolutely clear, right? But nevertheless, let's go through some details here. According to South China Morning Post, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi told the EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas that China cannot allow Russia to be defeated in Ukraine, warning that a Russian loss would enable Washington to redirect its full pressure campaign against Beijing. The statement reportedly came during a 4-hour meeting with Kallas, where Wing dismissed Western accusations of Chinese support for Russia's military efforts. He bluntly stated that if China were backing Russia financially or militarily, the conflict would have been over long ago. Well, a very strong and self-confident statement on part of China, but okay. Wang also reportedly gave Kallas several history lessons and made it clear that Beijing views the West behavior as deeply hypocritical. EU officials described his comments as harsh, as a harsh dose of real politics. And so, okay, by the way, I mean, if Russia used all its force, by the way, this conflict would end long time ago. I don't know about China and the capabilities of Chinese military, but if Russia used all the force that it can actually use, then this war would end literally in weeks, maybe even in days. No one should forget about it, that Russia is a major military power in this world, right? And the only reason this conflict has lasted this long is because collective West is engaged directly, right, with weapon supplies, with the mercenary supplies, with their supplies of their own military personnel, by the way, right, and hundreds of billions of dollars and euros. And also this conflict lasted this long because Russia don't want to see unnecessary casualties among civilians. That's the only reason, by the way. If Russia deployed its force in full strength, that will mean total obliteration of the Kiev-controlled territory, right? Not just military, but unfortunately, in that case, there would be significant number of collateral damage among civilians too, and Russia is avoiding this, and many Russian militaries, by the way, lost their lives and lost their healths protecting civilians, right? Not using force they have. But anyways, there are significant statements from Chinese foreign minister, if South China Morning Post is correct about this conversation between Chinese foreign minister and Kaja Kallas, top diplomat of EU. It sounds crazy, isn't it, by the way? It should be, it not just should be, but it is a shame of Europe, by the way, that they have Kaja Kallas as a top diplomat. It's just, I don't know, unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. It demonstrates a level of degradation of the political class in Europe. That's what it is. A few more news, dear friends. First had battery now fully operational in Saudi Arabia, according to Al Arabiya media outlet. Last month, the White House approved a 3.5 billion sale of advanced missile and weapons to Saudi Arabia. And well, first HUD is there, probably more to come. Although, by the way, I think Saudi leadership is making mistake while relying on the Western air defense systems, because recent 12-day war between Israel and Iran clearly demonstrated that even old types of Iranian missiles are well capable of bypassing all air defense systems that Israel was protected with, including THAAD, right? So I don't know. I think it would make much more sense if Saudi Arabia would purchase a Russian S-400, and I think Moscow will sell it. I don't know about S-500, but S-400 is already been sold to a number of countries, so probably Russia would not refuse. But to buy THAAD, by the way, weapon system that already demonstrated that it's just garbage, right? Okay, it's up to Saudis, by the way. If they want to pay billions in some loosely capable weapon systems, then okay, do it. TASS news agency is also reporting that Moscow officially recognized the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Russia has officially recognized the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. This was reported to a TASS by the Russian Foreign Ministry. And I believe Russia is one of the very few countries, maybe even first, who recognize a government of Taliban and Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. And this is quite interesting and important news, dear friends, because what a turn of history, isn't it? Had happened in the relationships between Afghanistan and Russia, between Kabul and Moscow. And as I said there quite a few times before, by the way, many Afghanis are regretting big time that they allow themselves to be fooled by Western propaganda and to be used against the Soviet Union, because they see difference in approaches when Soviet Union was went in Afghanistan, entered Afghanistan, and when US coalition did. Until now, by the way, if you see any buildings or any institutions in Afghanistan that are working and existing, roads, bridges, power plants, and so on, most likely it's built by Soviet people and by Soviet money, right? When Soviet Union went in, attitude was extremely respective, right? Russian Soviet militaries, by the way, were undergoing special training how to communicate with locals, to make sure that they will not insult unwillingly their local traditions and so on, right? And it was a fatal mistake on part of many people in Afghanistan that they've been fooled. They allowed themselves to be fooled by collective Western and then by all the countries that were using them, these mujahedeens, against Soviet troops. Pakistan, China, by the way, some people may don't know that most weapons that mujahedeens had was Chinese origin, right? US was supplying mujahedeens and Al-Qaeda, by the way, which was created at that time, and Al-Qaeda was also fighting against us, right? Head of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, was leading certain groups, mujahedeen groups, against Soviet troops, and eventually he created Al-Qaeda together with CIA, obviously, CIA, MI6, and so on. And yeah, it was fatal mistake, by the way. They fought against us while Soviet Union went in and build, by the way. Invested tens of billions of dollars, right? And somehow, quite a number of locals, by the way, were not happy about it, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Soviet Union built for their country, and they've been foolish enough to allow West to use them to destroy then their own country, right? To fight against Soviet forces and to quite effectively destroy their own country. And what a turn of the history that now Afghans are looking towards Russia. Once again, by the way, I remind you that Soviet troops did not went in Afghanistan on their own. Soviet troops were invited in Afghanistan by local government, right? And now Afghans are looking towards Moscow once again, and I guess they're hoping for cooperation. Okay, I think Moscow will assist Afghanistani people once again, although terms gonna be a bit different, of course. Moscow will no longer act as Soviet Union did when tens of billions were invested in this country, and for what, really? Moscow will be much more cautious, but still will provide assistance to Afghanistani people, because we never really had some aggression towards people there, right? We always see very unfortunate and tragic that some parts of the society in Afghanistan went against us because of their Western propaganda, right? It is what it is. So yes, Moscow officially recognized the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. I think this is success for Taliban government, and I guess soon we will see quite an increase in cooperation between the countries in economical and financial terms. Maybe even in military terms. You never know. Also, dear friends, let me share with you this information about this big, beautiful bill that was passed yesterday and Trump bragged about during the conversation with the Russian president. We have this report that this bigger, beautiful bill, according to Trump, will be signed by him at 4 p.m. On Independence Day by local time. So today this bill will go in effect, and well, there is still a huge discussion, isn't it, in America about this bill. I can give you some information on that. Obviously, I have not read that bill entirely, at least maybe some parts that was published in the media. And I think even senators in US and congressmen didn't really, many of them, or majority, didn't really read this bill. But anyway, some details are known. So there will be $46.5 billion allocated for Trump's border wall. 100 billion will be allocated for ICE through 2029, extension of the Trump's 2017 tax cuts, end of green energy initiatives, and on top of that, there will be increase in our ceiling, by the way, debt ceiling by 5 trillion. By 5 trillion, so one should expect that US will borrow this 5 trillion during the Trump's presidency, and overall debt of US will be over 40 trillion, by the way. Once Trump will leave office, US debt will be over 40 trillion, which is crazy, isn't it? Every single year, US will pay $1 trillion just to service this debt. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Washington will already now begin struggling to borrow money, not to attract investors with their US bonds, right? Especially because their dollar is losing its position, and this process is accelerating. And if that is going to be case, then US probably will begin just accelerating printing of the dollars, right? They will print it. If they couldn't borrow, they will just print it anyways, right? Which will, of course, further accelerate decline of dollar. And at some point, even without BRICS creating alternative world reserve currency, or even without outside involvement, Washington, with its policies, probably will collapse dollar. This might happen in, I don't know, 15, 20 years, or maybe even earlier than that. But this process of de-dollarization in this world not gonna stop, and eventually, well, US gonna see collapsed dollar and all their consequences to its economy. Some may argue that, well, weaker dollar will make it easier for US to pay all the debt, but it does not really work that way. There are some insurance measures in place. So only way US will be able to not pay back is a global war. Also, by the way, Gavin Newsom, California governor from Democrats, went to comment on this big beautiful bill, so-called, and he said that 17 million people in America just lost their health care due to this bill. 18 million kids just lost their school meals due to this bill. 3 million Americans just lost their food assistance, and 3.5 trillion was added to the deficit. All for a tax cut for Trump's billionaire donors. Ultimate betrayal, Gavin Newsom stated. And dear friends, I have no trust in U.S. Democrats, right? I think they are assets of the globalists, right? So therefore, we should take these numbers with a pinch of salt. Our friends from America, from our members of our community from U.S. can share information if this report from Newsom is correct. But if it is, by the way, this is a huge hit, of course, on social fabric there on U.S. citizens, because 17 million people lost healthcare. Really? It's crazy. 18 million kids will have no school meals because of this bill. What the hell, man? What's going on? I don't know. But because this is Gavin Newsom, by the way, we should take this information with pinch of salt anyways. Right? And a few more news, dear friends, and I will end this news segment. Keir Starmer could be ousted as a prime minister within the months. Two senior Labour MPs tell this to Sky News. Interesting. I did not really pay much attention to UK's domestic politics. I do monitor British media on internet because this is my job, isn't it? I'm working in news and politics field, and therefore I have to monitor media outlets. And I know that Starmer is a not really popular prime minister in UK, not even among supporters of the Labour Party. A very low approval rating, but to be ousted in a few months' time, maybe this is some sort of exaggeration on part of either these Labour MPs or the Sky News. Anyways, let me give you some details. Starmer might be forced to resign within a month. Sky News, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer may face resignation within a few months, according to reporters. Sources within the ruling Labour Party have warned Starmer that he will be expected to step down if their government continues to perform poorly. A final decision could hinge on their party's results in regional elections next May in Wales, Scotland, and London. So at least until next May, by the way, he is in office, right? I guess then. So it's almost a year, by the way, almost, right? So it's not really a few months, as Sky News is claiming. It's little more than a few months. But nevertheless, yes, UK is in a deep trouble. UK's economy is in a deep trouble for many, many reasons. And first of all, because of the stupidity of the leadership of this country or kingdom, how should I call it? But yet again, I mean, if people in UK will wake up, majority, and if they will realize that the so-called aristocracy in UK and their political class that is controlled by this aristocracy are the main issue for them, main problem, right? Then maybe some fundamental changes will happen on that island, and eventually, people of UK will have better prospects for the future. But right now, UK is in a dark place, and going that just deeper and deeper in that, right? And same can be said about majority of European countries, but it's true in case of Germany, in case of France, in case of Spain, Italy. All these countries, by the way, are not, and they're smaller economies too, by the way. They are in a dark place already. And also, I want to give you this news. I spoke about it yesterday during the second update, but in case you have not seen that video, by the way, UK failed to fix its stranded F-35 stealth fighter in India. So British F-35B Lightning II stealth fighter that has been grounded at the Tiruvananthapuram airport in southern India since June 14th will be dismantled and taken back to the UK. The News 18 website reported, citing Indian government sources. With their British field repair crew unable to fix the aircraft, the UK is now exploring the option of airlifting the jet aboard the C-17 Globemaster transport plane. According to NDTV, the jet manufactured by the Lockheed Martin American company is a part of HMS Prince of Wales carrier strike group. It was engaged in operations in the Indo-Pacific region after conducting joint exercises with the Indian Navy. On June 14, it made an emergency diversion to Tiruvananthapuram due to low fuel levels and hydraulics snags, and landed at the city's airport after encountering bad weather. India's Air Force facilitated the safe touchdown of their fighter. The pilot initially refused to leave his plane, a move described as a standard protocol since the jet is considered among the most advanced aircraft of its kind. Well, is that pilot still there in the plane? Well, great opportunity, by the way, for Indian engineers, for Indian aerospace industry to, take a better look at F-35, learn whatever they can learn, right? And maybe they will use some of this knowledge to build their Indian domestic 5th-gen fighter jet. But when it comes to this story itself, this is, of course, humiliation of British Royal Navy, strike force of HMS Prince Wales, for sure, and also military-industrial complex of the UK, that they have no specialists, by the way, that are capable of dealing with whatever issues this plane is experiencing. And these planes constantly are experiencing issues, by the way. And this information only confirms what I was always saying, that main flaw of the Western weapon systems is that they are intentionally over-engineered, over-complicated, because on the maintenance of these weapon systems, manufacturers or military-industrial complex, by the way, directly or indirectly through third parties, are making much more money, much more profits than by selling these weapons that are already tremendously expensive. But they are intentionally over-engineering literally everything, including planes, by the way. So they know that something going to go wrong anyways, right? So maintenance will be constantly needed. And this is costly stuff, right? They are issuing checks for billions and billions to the Pentagon in case of US and to British Defense Ministry in case of UK in this particular case, right? In this particular instance. So yes, I mean, this information definitely confirms what I was saying all along, that Western weapon systems are hyped up for sure. You know, West is very good in advertising, by the way. But when it comes to reality check, well, that's what is happening. You know, and F-35 is freaking garbage, by the way, anyways, right? So yes, I wanted to share with you this news because, you know, once again, additional indicator that my take on our topic of Western weapon systems is correct. They are over-engineering stuff instead of simplifying stuff as much as possible while keeping these weapons capable. Western military-industrial complex is doing exactly the opposite, overcomplicating stuff because they are making huge money, by the way, on services, right, or on maintenance. It's such a corrupt scheme, by the way, this relationships between political class of the Western countries and the military-industrial complex. It's just total mess. I could not understand how people can tolerate such stuff, but you know. And let's end the news segment, by the way, on this news, on this information, that Russia's gold and foreign exchange reserves hit a new all-time high in June. The volume of Russian gold and the foreign exchange reserves increased by $0.5 billion over the week and set a new absolute record as of June 27. Russian gold and foreign exchange reserves reached $687.7 billion. Well, when I see this information, by the way, I always have a question. Does this number include 300 billion worth assets that Russia had invested in the West and are frozen now by Western countries? Or that 300 billion is not included? But in any case, even if included, by the way, we should keep in mind that when West froze these 300 billion worth of Russian assets, Russia took steps also to freeze Western investments in Russia, approximately on same amount, right? And if West will still formalize stealing of that 300 billion, then Russia will retaliate while nationalizing Western assets in Russia. So therefore, you know, frozen or not, but overall, Russia can still rely on this 300 billion one way or another, isn't it? And I remind you, dear friends, that this is not the only fund that Russia has as a safety cushion for economy. There is a national wealth fund or national. There is another fund, by the way, where there is some 200 billion also, something like that. And in general, if government wanted to, it can pull out about trillion, by the way, easy, right? If necessary. Do it through all these different funds that Russia has, where significant amount of money being money and other assets, by the way. It's not necessarily cash itself. I mean, it's gold and other treasuries and so on, right? So yes, Russia can easily pull off like trillion as a safety cushion for its economy, which is quite a good place to be, isn't it? It's a good safety cushion for sure. And okay, dear friends, let's end the news segment on this good news, and let's have a little chat now. Hopefully you did find their news segment informative and and useful. Let me right now, I'm alone at home, dear friends, so family members cannot tell me if there was any super chatter. I will check Rumble right now. Unfortunately, I see no super chat there. On Rumble, dear friends, I don't know why, but top comments are disappearing after some time, right? Not all comments are visible, to me at least. I don't know what to do with this. Is it a standard approach, or it's I have to deal with some settings to make sure that I see all the questions and all the comments? But I don't know, but I guess there was no super chat on Rumble, and let me right now check if there was any donation through PayPal during the stream. No. If I'm not mistaken, there was no donations, no nothing. So, okay. It's not okay, but, well, what can I do about it, right? Anyways, let's have a little chat. Let's have a little chat now. As always, dear friends, if I see capital Q before question, that will make it easier to notice, react on the commentary. And okay, let's. If you can, please click that like button on this live stream, dear friends. That might help to reach wider audience. And after stream, if you can leave some commentary. What is your thoughts about information that I shared with you, and my takes on certain topics? So let's scroll now. Chat. Okay. Just me is commenting why image is shaking. The table is not fixed. My apologies, dear friends, that yes, time to time, like I will do it now. Images are shaking because I'm recording. I'm working basically in a dining room, right? And I mean, table is okay, but it's a small table, and it does reacts when I touched on it, right? So this is not a studio table, and studio equipment. So therefore, unfortunately, quality not as on a level as I would like. But yet again, I mean, I'm working with what I have, right? So my apologies that quality of the video may not be on a level that I myself would like, but at this point, I'm working with what I have. Maybe sometime in the future, I'll be in position to rent another flat where I will have one room for cabinet, for office, and I will build there everything on better way. But right now, this is not possible. So. Once again, dear friends, my apologies if I will miss right now I checked Rumble, and Blorb, thank you very much for donation, $5 donation. Truly grateful. And there is no comment. Number 2. Maybe that means that this was a second donation from you, and thank you thank you for super chat, and also Andre Kiwi, thank you for super chat and $2 donation. Thank you, Levan, for your stream, sir. Thank you, and many thanks to all of our community for being here, dear friends. As long as you are paying attention to my content, I'm here, and as long as I can maintain this project, by the way. So truly grateful. Thank you. And let me continue with the chat. I will keep Rumble page open, and so I will check it time to time. And questions. I see a comment from Svetlana Vladimirova. Levan, how about being as a guest on other geopolitical shows like Daniel Davis, The Duran, etc.? I'm sure the audience would be appreciative and it would help your subscriber numbers. Well, I was lucky enough to be invited by Duran, by the way, twice, right? And when Alex Christoforou was here in Moscow last summer, I interviewed him. And that interview is one of the most viewed interviews on my channel. I also invited Duran and a few other guests. Duran hosts, by the way, Alex Christoforou and Alexander Mercouris, and also some other active figures in alternative media. But then I had to stop making these guest appearances on my channel because I was struggling, but I don't have addresses, mail addresses of there are many people that I would like to interview, and I was trying to connect with them. It did not work out, and therefore I stopped it. And after that, YouTube gets slowed down in Russia, isn't it? And I began working with VPN. And if it's okay now, I mean, it's not okay. It's never okay when there is some technical issues. But I'm making streams on YouTube and Rumble, and I'm explaining to a community that there might be some issues with the buffering or something. That is because I'm using VPN to stream, but I cannot risk to invite a guest, and then if some technical issues will appear, either with buffering or anything like that, that would not look good, isn't it? So I don't want to risk. Otherwise, I would like to try again to invite guests for an interview or the conversation to my programs. At stake from my side. When it comes to me being invited, well, I mean, if I'm invited, I will react on it. But if I'm not, then I'm not. So it would be great for this project, of course, for the development, if big channels are paying attention to my work. But it's up to them, isn't it? It's not up to me. Would they invite me or not? It's their decision, and I mean that's how it is. I'm not gonna contact nobody and ask to be invited, isn't it? It does not work that way. You have to be invited. And as I said, dear friends, I was lucky enough to be invited there several times by different channels, and including by Duran. So I'm truly grateful for Alex Christoforou and Alexander Mercouris for that attention. It definitely helped, by the way, to reach wide audience. Definitely. Let's search for a question. Sorry, dear friends, if I missed your question. Yet again, I mean, capital letters will make it easier to notice, or capital Q before question. But in any ways, dear friends, I'm so happy that members of our community are exchanging opinions, and there is a real-time conversation that is happening in the chat, right? And that's the reason, by the way, one of the main reasons why I began these community chat programs quite long ago, isn't it? That this is a good opportunity to exchange opinion, not just in the comment section, when you might write now comment and you don't know when a person will see your comment or the question and when person will react. But in real time, it's we all here, and we can have a exchange of opinions. So it's much more convenient this way. And I see this commenter, Kate Stone, is commenting, the big ugly bill will be another nail in the coffin for the USA. Maybe that is the case. Yet again, I have not read I have not had opportunity actually to read the entire bill. I don't know even if that bill is published somewhere entirely. But if you live in US, Kate, you know better than I do, because you live there and you have much more information about discussions about this bill. So maybe this bill will help US, maybe it will do exactly the opposite. I just have not enough knowledge to have a strong opinion on the matter. Thank you for your comment. Questions. Dear friends, after stream will end, I will publish several short videos from this live stream. And if you come across those videos, please take a minute if you can spare their time and click like button there, and maybe you can leave commentary. Yet again, to reach wider audience, by the way, this is only way we can try at least to reach wider audience, because algorithms, especially on YouTube, by the way, are doing some nasty stuff. Recently, by the way, I was trying to answer to one of the members of community. As you know, I'm reading comments, isn't it? And I answered to question, and after some time, I went in the comment section again to check other comments, new comments, and I noticed that my answer disappeared to the person that was asking something. I write again, and it disappeared again, by the way, right? I was so mad. And then it was next day or something. I was trying to pin comment, by the way. I was unable to pin on my channel. I was unable for quite a while to pin the comment. I don't know. And what you gonna do about it? It's YouTube, isn't it? They have crazy algorithms. Eventually, I did manage to pin the comment there. But for quite a while, I was thinking, what the hell, man? Now I cannot even pin the comment on my channel. And so many members are writing that they're posting comments once, twice, third times, and algorithm is deleting these comments. I mean, YouTube is extremely aggressive, by the way, towards alternative media, especially channels that are not censoring themselves to use certain words, certain topics, right? To touch on certain topics. And my channel is among them. I don't censor myself. I talk about any topic that is in making headlines. That I don't shy away to say what I think. An algorithm don't like that, Nidish Kumar is asking, Levan, the UK Telegraph wrote a hit piece on India, calling India enemy of West. Can you go through it? Wow. Really, I'm gonna after this stream, I'm gonna try to find that article. By the way, went completely nuts there in Telegraph. What a craziness, man! India is in a position now, maybe first time in a long time, to actually try hard and succeed in defending its national interests. And by the way, I mean, London may don't like it, but I like it. I don't care about feelings of British aristocracy or the elites, so-called. But a stronger India is becoming better for this world, by the way. That's what I think, right? But I'm going to find this article. I'm going to try. Let's see. Maybe some Russian media outlets even translated, or maybe pay some attention to it. Otherwise, I will try to find the original version of it. Thank you for letting me know. But I mean, India was attacked and is attacked constantly, isn't it? From the West. And India's foreign minister, Jaishankar, legendary figure, by the way, one of their top foreign ministers in this world, for sure. I mean, I will argue he's in top 3, undoubtedly, right? A heavyweight. And Jaishankar was very strong whenever he was attacked, or whenever India was attacked, in conferences or anywhere, by either Western press or Western public figures, when India was criticized for cooperating with Russia. And Jaishankar was always pointing out on hypocrisy of the West, right? And he had, I will never forget when he said this attitude that Western world has, that problems of the India or other countries are their local problems, right? Their issues. But if West is experiencing some problems, they have attitude as if that is a world's problem, which is not the case, isn't it? And when it comes to energy, by the way, energy cooperation in energy field between Russia and India, Jaishankar was very clear. I mean, European states, including ones that are extremely hostile towards Russia, France, for example, by the way, Spain, Netherlands, they are buying a lot of Russian LNG, right? Directly or indirectly. They are still buying Russian gas, Russian oil, and while doing so are criticizing India for cooperating with Russia. I mean, what is that? It's a million times worse than hypocrisy. It's just million-x hypocrisy, isn't it? So, and also, by the way, Jaishankar was very clear that India remembers the history and knows perfectly well that when attacked and being under tremendous danger, Western world was siding against India on side of Pakistan, for example, in 1971, right? That was. While Moscow actually stand with India, and probably did play a crucial role to make sure that West would not go ahead with the war against India, and they were prepared, by the way, isn't it? So Vadim Sigidar is asking Luvan, is there any update on Azerbaijani crime scene? Yesterday, I saw reports, by the way, that leaders of ethnic Azerbaijani crime group were detained. There are two figures in this ethnic Azerbaijani crime group. One was in Orenburg, another one was in Moscow, if I remember correctly. So Russian law enforcement agencies continue to tackle this issue of ethnic criminal groups, right? When it comes to relationships between Moscow and Baku, well, no positive changes there. No positive changes there. At least the Russian consulate had the opportunity to visit Russian citizens that were tortured by Azerbaijan law enforcement agencies. But there is not talks yet, at least on the public level, when these people will be released or if they will be released at all, right? Probably at some point exchange will take place, and Azerbaijani citizens that are detained in Russia will be exchanged for Russian citizens that are detained in Azerbaijan. Yesterday also I saw reports that many Russian citizens complained about harassment in Azerbaijan. And even though Russian Foreign Ministry did not yet officially stated that for Russian citizens it is dangerous to stay in Azerbaijan, indirect calls are there to basically leave Azerbaijan for Russian citizens if they can, right? On official level, Moscow is still trying on diplomatically to resolve this issue, but yet again, this is not Baku only that is escalating. This is London, by the way, right? This is globalists that are escalating with Moscow. They just use ordinary criminal investigation that was happening in Yekaterinburg as a starter, right, of this escalation. And probably they have some plan in place. I mean, London and Baku. London probably would not even share entirety of this plan, whatever they have in mind, right? Just some parts of it, and will use their influence or their regime in Azerbaijan to escalate with Russia, while it is Azerbaijani interests that being harmed. Interests of the people, obviously, because unfortunately, when this kind of political level or state level escalation is happening, relationships between the people may deteriorate, unfortunately, but that's how life works, right? Which is unfortunate, obviously. So interests of the ordinary people will be harmed, and interests of the Azerbaijani state republic will be harmed, because Russia don't really needs anything from Azerbaijan, literally. I mean, but Azerbaijan does needs Russian economy. It's a huge difference, by the way. This is two different universes, right? So regime in Azerbaijan actually harming its own people, its own country, while escalating with Moscow. But that's the level of influence that globalists have, by the way, and London, to be more precise, has in that Southern Caucasus Republic. But if you take a look at the statements from Russian officials, these statements are very careful, very diplomatic. Foreign ministry representatives, Kremlin representatives, they all are saying that they would like to see relationships with Azerbaijan to go back to strategical partnership. And they are not escalating in neither on terms of rhetorics or any other way. Russia clearly don't want this escalation, by the way, right? But yet again, I mean, I don't think Aliyev is in a position to refuse whatever orders he will receive from London. One may think, well, there is a Turkey behind the Azerbaijani regime, also Israel, and they can help him. You know what? Turkey is also receiving orders from London. Turkish elites have a longer history of operating in interests of the UK, operating as a British proxy in the Middle East, in Central Asia, and so on, right? in former Soviet area, let's say, and other parts of the world. So therefore, this is not an argument. Svetlana Vladimirova also commented another idea to enhance your YouTube exposure. Invite people like Larry Johnson, Ray McGowan, George Galloway into the show. Well, I try, Svetlana. Maybe a year or year and a half ago, I began inviting guests. Duran was kind to be the guest on my show. Also, several other experts, by the way. But then, when I was trying to contact people like you are mentioning, I tried to contact Larry Johnson. I failed, by the way. I don't know how to contact these people. Ray McGovern, Colonel McGregor, Jeffrey Sachs. I would like to invite all these people that we see in alternative media, right? But I'm just struggling. I don't know. Scott Ritter, by the way. I don't know how to invite. I don't know their miles, sir. I try to subscribe to their pages, but even then, you cannot directly contact them. There's some programs are popping up, and you have to fill their information there and send a request. And I did it too. And even that didn't work. And at one point I said, you know what? Okay, man, I just give up. If I had their coordinates, I would love to take an interview from these people that you mentioned and many others. But unfortunately, due to this technical issue, I just, it did not work for me. I was not able to contact them directly. Thank you for your assistance, your help with ideas, your comments. I did try though. Edgar Nelson is commenting, your walk through Moscow yesterday was interesting. Question, what is your line of work or profession? Thank you, Edgar, for your kind words and for your question. I'm a journalist, by the way, by education. I was working in journalism since 17 years in Georgia. I began working in publishing my articles even before I went to university on Faculty of Journalism in Tbilisi State University. And yes, I spent in journalism around 30 years, more actually. Right, so that's my profession, to work with the news information and to transfer this information to public. That's what journalism is. Gather information and share it with public, and more people know, better decisions they will make. Right, that's why profession is important. Right, but it's being neglected, by the way, all over the world now, because there is very different interpretations of the journalism nowadays, isn't it? While, in my personal opinion, main purpose of journalists is to share as much information as possible with the public and let the people decide, right? More they know, better decisions they will make. I believe so. But nowadays, sometimes I say that journalism is almost dead, by the way. True journalism, right? When you share your take, your personal opinion, just make it clear that this is your personal opinion, right? But when you share information, it also should be clear that this is reports, right? This is what is happening, right? Just let the people know. And more people know, better decisions they will make, 100%. Maria Palmer is have a question. Levan, did I hear you say you want to interview Doug McGregor? I have seen him interviewed on much smaller channels than yours, so no need to wait for more subs. Thank you, Maria, for your question. I have as I already explained, I try to contact these people, right? And some responded and some did not. And I don't know, maybe I should try again now. I don't know. I will think about it, right? But you need to have a mile, isn't it? Where I should write, for example, to either Douglas McGregor or Scott Ritter or Jeffrey Sachs. Where should I write that? Hello, I'm Levan Gudadze. I would like to have an interview with you. Could you spare some, half an hour or hour this day or that day? I mean, where should I write this stuff? I don't know, and I don't know anybody who can help me with that, isn't it? So that's what is happening. But I might try again. As far as I can tell, dear friends, even though I'm streaming on 2 platforms simultaneously, there was a very few comments from members of our community that there is some issues with the buffering. So I guess this is working, right? So maybe I will risk it and began asking experts from all over the world to join their streams. I will make separate program for that. Let's see. I want to do this, by the way, but because I was disappointed big time a year or year and a half ago when I was unable to contact these people, I'm kind of afraid to be disappointed again or something. I don't know. It's not even disappointment. I just don't want to waste my time, right? If people not even, I was sending on the miles that I find of those people, and if they are, ignoring me, then, if they ignored me a year ago, why would they react now? Isn't it? I don't know. Maybe they did not see it, by the way. Sometimes it happens. I myself did not see, even though my channel is tiny compared to big channels, isn't it? And therefore, engagement between me and communities are not as big as these other channels have probably. They're probably receiving hundreds or maybe thousands of letters every day, and it is technically difficult, physically difficult to go through all of it. Even I, by the way, got receiving maybe dozen or two messages on daily basis. Even I sometimes miss the letter, It happens. So maybe they did not see it. I don't know. Okay, Nidish Kumar is adding to the topic of a Guardian or Telegraph's attack on India that they are angry that we used BrahMos in a military operation, and that is our British elites. Oh, maybe that is the case. Maybe that is the case, But yet again, globalists want to control everything and everybody, right? And when India demonstrates its independence, they are not happy about it. They are just simply not happy with everybody that even tries, attempts to be sovereign, to make sovereign decisions, independent decisions. They want to be in charge, by the way, and they are losing control, isn't it? And that's why they are going crazy, absolutely crazy. Take a look at their actions, by the way, of their Western ruling class. Now they are waging proxy war against Russia. They are trying to destabilize big time Middle East, right? They want to destabilize global South. Anywhere they go, take a look at the Africa, by the way. Anywhere they go, they are destabilizing, right? Because divide and conquer, that's their principle that West was adopting for centuries. Divide and conquer. Western elites, I mean. Dear friends, it's almost 2 hours. It's almost 2 hours. So I have to end there. I have to end this stream now. One more question, dear friends. Samores is commenting. Have you heard, or asking, have you heard about American News Network? I think so. I think so. Growing podcaster, they often have their first Armenian ambassador to the Netherlands, Diunika Ajajanian, very versed in global geopolitics. I think I have heard and maybe even watched some of the programs of American News Network. Maybe I'm even subscribed, by the way. I'm subscribed on so many channels. But I'm not familiar with the person you are mentioning. First Armenian ambassador to the Netherlands. I'm going to check this media outlet. And it is always useful, by the way, to listen to as many opinions as possible. That will make competent opinions, by the way, of course. That will make easier to have a good understanding or good reading of their big picture. Banzo Beans is commenting, Levan, Alex Kuder would help with their setting up contacts. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. If I would ask her, Alex Christopher, he probably would not refuse. But I don't want to disturb him. You know, it's you know, I would not ask him. I will ask him for an interview. That's that I can do, but I would not ask him for to help me to contact other people, because I have to find a way. You know, I myself somehow have to find a way, and he cannot give me no contacts, by the way, if he did not yet first talk to those people. Do you mind if I will contact you with this blogger from Russia? And it just takes too much time, by the way, and I would not disturb Alex. Otherwise, I have no doubts, by the way, that he would help. He is, you know, he and Alexander Mercouris, they are very helpful to alternative media, by the way. Maybe many people don't pay that much attention to, but they have quite often, by the way, small create authors or their hosts of the small channels, very often, right? And they are giving boost to these small channels. They help me out, right? While inviting me twice, I believe, isn't it? So that was their exposure to massive audience that they have, isn't it? And they have invited many other creators from small channels. So they're very helpful to alternative media, but I wouldn't dare to ask them to help me with their contacts, not to contact their experts that we talked about. It would be just too much to ask, I think. But they would help. If I would ask them, they will help me, but I wouldn't. It's just too much to ask, really. I mean, if we were best friends, by the way, childhood friends, all different story. But no, thank you, John. Let me once again. John, thank you for your super chat. A comment is from Banzo Beans, our moderator, by the way. You could try to call into George Galloway's live show. That could work. Be sure there to mention your own show. Yes, technically speaking, that could work, isn't it? But that would be, kind of cheap shot from my side, isn't it? It would not go down nicely with George Galloway, for example, or his audience. So I don't know. And also, miss me with it. Thank you very much for gift subscription. Grateful for your help. And dear friends, let's finalize this stream now. It's almost 2 hours. So thank you all for your attention, for your support, for your questions on the comments. Have a wonderful day, dear friends, and take care. See you tomorrow.